Hey there, it's Blaine from Current Automotive, and we're going to try something a little bit different today. Last week there was some big news that broke about the Lucid Air. The company is claiming it will be rated at over 500 miles of range on the EPA test, which would be breaking the range record by a huge amount. And we also have a whole lot of interesting cars on the lot, so I want to take a chance to combine the two. We're going to go for a drive and we're going to talk about the Lucid. Let's go. So obviously we have a whole bunch of Model X's right now, including this really cool looking 2018 100D in Tesla's old true silver metallic color. It's the one that they discontinued, which is a real shame in my opinion. I think it looks great on all of their cars, and it especially looks sick on this one with these 22-inch black wheels. But this car is waiting on a service appointment with Tesla, so I'll drive it another time. In the meantime, I'm going to be taking a Model X with even more performance. This 2020 Tesla Model X Performance will do 0 to 60 in just 2.6 seconds. A frankly ludicrous time for a car that weighs this much and is this big. And it'll look great while doing it too, with that midnight silver metallic paint job, those 22-inch onyx black wheels, and the red painted performance brake calipers. Inside the car, you'll find a white interior with the full 7 seats available in the Model X, and it's equipped with the full self-driving package. This car is basically as fully loaded as a modern Model X can get. If you want to see more about this Model X, be sure to check it out on our website at currentautomotive.com. Now, you can't drive without one of these. So we are finally on the road, and I say finally like it hasn't been just a few seconds for you since we last spoke, but for me it's been about an hour and a half as I took the time to shoot some B-roll of this car, the other Model X's we have, and of course to set up the cameras inside for recording this video. And it takes a little bit of time to get all that done. One of the really nice things about shooting the Model X, and really all Teslas, is the ability to leave air conditioning on while you're outside the vehicle. You know, it was well over 80 degrees today. It was very warm, moving the cameras around, got kind of hot. Well, I could keep the car nice and cool so that when I got ready to start recording, didn't have to wait for the air conditioning to cool down or to blast the AC and sort of have all that wind noise coming from the air conditioning overpower my voice in the video. So, you know, just one of the many perks of electric vehicles, and Tesla's programming in particular. Of course, the real topic for today isn't this amazing Model X, although I'll talk about it a little bit more as we go. The real topic for today is the Lucid Air. Now, Lucid has been in social media for some time. There are a couple of people who have gotten a chance to drive some of their prototypes, I believe. But they really made the biggest headlines they've made yet just last week when they announced that the Lucid Air achieved over 500 miles, 517 miles to be specific, on the EPA testing cycle. Now, this wasn't an official EPA test, but they did send their vehicle to FEV North America, which is like a laboratory test center for vehicles, and they ran it through the exact same test procedure that the EPA will run it through. So it stands to reason that this test will hold up when the EPA actually gets their hands on the car themselves. And of course, this is really, really, really big news, right? Currently the longest ranged electric vehicle on the market is the Tesla Model S. And that was just this year that they achieved 402 miles of range. And breaking the 400-mile range barrier is kind of a big deal in and of itself. So for just a few months later, Lucid to come along and say, hey, we did over 500, well, you know, obviously that got a lot of attention. And something else to think about is that Lucid, it would be a really bad look for Lucid to come out and say, yeah, we got over 500 miles of range on the EPA test, and then not have the faith in their ability to meet that range when they actually give the car to the EPA for official testing later this year. So I, for one, am inclined to believe Lucid when they say that they were able to achieve this. The EPA testing cycle is actually kind of interesting, what they do for electric vehicles. And you know, we always like to look for EPA numbers over other numbers from the rest of the world, because EPA numbers are the lowest compared to other driving cycles around the world, and they tend to be more accurate, I think, than the Worldwide Light Vehicle Testing Protocol or the NEDC, either of the other protocols for testing electric vehicle range that are used overseas. So what they do for the EPA test for electric vehicles, it's very similar to what they do for gasoline vehicles, with a couple of differences. They charge the car to 100%, they unplug it and let it sit overnight. The next morning, they bring it in and put it on a dyno, which most car enthusiasts will be familiar with a dyno as what's used to measure horsepower. Well, dyno can also be used to measure all sorts of other things, and also as just a nice controlled place to test a vehicle. Obviously, the EPA isn't so interested in horsepower as it is interested in efficiency. So they're not testing horsepower, they're testing efficiency on this cycle. But anyways, in the morning, they bring the car onto the dyno and they put it through a number of different driving cycles that are meant to simulate city and highway driving. There's actually 2 cycles. The city, or UDDS driving test, simulates city driving by doing stop and go traffic, essentially. So it'll, you know, get up to speed, 25 to 40 miles an hour, and then come back to stop. And it'll get it back up to speed, and then it'll go back down to stop. And it'll do that for a few minutes, and they have to hit like a different prescribed speeds over the time of the test. And gasoline vehicles don't tend to do very well on that. Obviously, the city fuel economy of a gas vehicle is always going to be lower than the highway fuel economy. Now, electric vehicles do better in city driving because they can recharge energy more frequently when they're putting it back into the pack whenever they have to slow down to stop. The highway test gets the vehicle up to speed, and it has it fluctuate at different speeds between like 30 and 60 to 65 miles per hour over the course of the test. Now, this is a slower, lower speed than what most highway testing is, or highway driving is actually done at, but it is a sustained speed, so it does a decent job of calculating what the fuel efficiency of a vehicle will be. They will run those sets, those 2 tests alternating over time until the vehicle gets all the way down to 0% charge and can't drive anymore. Then they will plug the vehicle in, and the plug that they plug it into has a meter, so they can measure specifically how much electricity goes back into the car. And from there, they can calculate how many miles did it drive on the test versus how much electricity did it use. And they can achieve a range number and fuel efficiency numbers from that. Now, there is one last thing that they do to achieve, to get the final numbers that are used for the fuel economy, for the official fuel economy numbers. The closed laboratory environment, there's no wind resistance, there's no other traffic, it takes place at lower speeds than real-life driving, so it kind of puts the cars at an advantage, and they get a much, much higher range on that test than drivers are likely to experience in real life. So what they do is they take whatever range they achieved over those tests, and they multiply it by 0.7. It's kind of an arbitrary number, but it achieves a number that's actually pretty accurate for what most people will get. So, as an example, the Model Y over the course of the EPA test goes like 450 something miles, and then they multiply that by 0.7 to get its rated 316 mile range. All right, we are at one of the few fun driving roads to where the current home base is now. It's Green Road, and yeah, the Model X is just ready to take off. Whenever you just touch the gas, and going a little too fast there. When you get the suspension on very low on the Model X, man, it's got a good amount of grip. Fat tires, all-wheel drive. It is more fun to drive than a car this size has any right to be. All right, we're already running out of road here. We'll turn around and do a 0 to 60 here at the end of this. All right, so I don't have a stopwatch or anything, so I can't really measure what 0 to 60 is going to be, but that doesn't mean we can't give it a go and see what it's like, right? All right, here we go. And 60. Holy cow. Yeah, I'd be really interested to do a back-to-back drive of a P100D from like 2016 to one of the modern performance ludicrous mode Model X's, because that's just effortless, and it is like face melting, soul crushing. It makes it sound like a bad thing. There's once you drive a Tesla, and people, you know what I'm saying if you've driven one. Once you've driven a Tesla, just nothing else can compare. And the fact that they can achieve that with a 7-seat SUV/crossover is kind of incredible. You know, I actually have driven a P100D from an older model year, and I definitely think that this is faster. But man, I'd be interested to put the two of them together. Maybe that'll be something I'll have to arrange. Do a little drag race and see just how much faster with our own eyes Model X performance is versus the older P100Ds are with ludicrous mode. All right, here we go. It's wild. Still, the amount of acceleration that you can get in a family car, in an electric car, for, so at a much lower price than you can get any exotic, it's still incredible to get to be able to experience that. Anyways, now that we are done hooning this X, we are going to head back, and I want to circle back to Lucid. They haven't said a whole lot yet about how they've managed to achieve over 500 miles of range on a single charge. They've said it's their proprietary technology, which, the same thing can be said that's how Tesla achieved its really long ranges. Obviously, every company has achieved whatever it's achieving through its own proprietary technologies. Really, all they've said is that they're using a 900-volt architecture, which is going to be the highest voltage of any electric vehicle architecture out there. The standard is 400 volts. The Porsche Taycan has 800-volt architecture, and the Lucid Air is going to have a 900-volt architecture, which they say is one of the factors for the efficiency and the performance of the vehicle. Lucid actually makes the batteries for Formula E. So it's not branded by Lucid, it's branded through their technology arm, Ativa or Atieva. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it. But they are the ones that have designed the batteries for Formula E. And motorsports is the ultimate trial by fire for any sort of automotive technology. The batteries that are used in the Formula E cars are meant to last the entire season. They're constantly being run at maximum power, discharging and recharging the battery. It's a huge amount of stress that's being put on the components, and by and large, it works. And the fact that Lucid has designed those units means they have a lot of experience in high-performance electric vehicle design and battery pack design. And they probably also have access to a lot of the performance data of the pack, so they can, improve it from season to season. They did it for season 5, they're doing it for season 6, and a couple of seasons beyond that. So they certainly have a level of expertise that's different from most other manufacturers. The only other electric vehicle that was being raced in any way, shape, or form was the Jaguar I-Pace for the Jaguar I-Pace E Trophy series that was being run as a support series for Formula E. Another element of the Formula E partnership that Lucid has, or another element of the Formula E partnership to consider, is that it gives Lucid a lot of credibility. There's a lot of electric vehicle startups right now from all over the world. They're all competing for venture capital funding to try and prove that, they're going to be the next Tesla. That's what everybody wants to be, is the next Tesla. Well, I don't think anybody is going to be the next Tesla. The sad fact is that a lot of these electric vehicle startups aren't going to bring it to the manufacturing phase. They don't have the experience, they don't have the credibility. Starting a car company is really hard. Electric vehicles especially, they're very expensive and challenging to make because they're very new. But Lucid has been delivering a product in the Formula E battery. So to me, that gives them a lot of credibility, and that I'm inclined to believe that they actually have what it takes to pull this off and start building the Lucid Air and getting it out to customers. And if they manage to do that, it would be a really pretty big deal. The only new electric vehicle companies in America that have been able to start delivering cars have been Tesla and Fisker, and that's obviously old Fisker, when they were delivering cars in the early 2010s. And even though they were able to do that, it wasn't able to secure their long-term success. Their battery supplier wound up going bankrupt, and that kind of spelled doom for the company. And you can look and see how hard Henrik Fisker has been working to try and bring it back. Success in the automotive manufacturing space is very difficult to come by. It's fun to look at Tesla and be like, oh yeah, they were bound to succeed, but really there were no guarantees that Tesla was going to pull it off. Something else I have to wonder is if Tesla will respond to Lucid Air in any way, shape, or form. They have been the champions of electric vehicle range and performance since basically ever. They've never been really beaten. The closest anybody's come is Porsche with the Taycan, which is faster than Model S to 120 miles an hour. Actually, the Porsche Taycan is the fastest car in the world to 120 miles an hour, and Porsche just didn't talk about that. And it did seem that Elon Musk wanted to respond to the Porsche Taycan because we started to see Model S on tracks at Laguna Seca, and they said they were going to attempt to take on the Nürburgring record with the Model S Plaid powertrain. Now that's kind of gone quiet since then. I don't really know what's going on there. But if Lucid comes out and manages to create a real compelling mass market product with the Lucid Air with over 500 miles of range, will Tesla respond? It's hard to imagine how or if Tesla would actually be able to pull an additional 100 miles of range out of the Model S. They're constantly pushing to improve range, and just in the last 2 years, Model S has gone from 315 miles of range to 330 to 350 to 370 and all the way up to 402 miles. Now that's just Tesla par for the course. They're always pushing to increase the range, but they do it incrementally over time. So it would probably take a pretty big engineering feat to pull an additional 100 miles of range out to respond to Lucid Air. We are just about back to the shop here, and I wanted to turn it over to you all. One, what do you think of the Lucid Air? Go ahead, comment down below. Let me know what you think of its claimed 500 miles of range. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think Tesla is going to respond to it? Additionally, let me know what you think. I've tried to make a couple of different styles of videos here for Current Automotive, and basically a one-man production team. We have several people on staff, but I'm the only one who's been tasked with making videos for our YouTube channel. So I guess let me know what you think of this kind of video versus other videos I've made in the past. Did you like this? Did you find the discussion interesting? Did you like seeing the car that I'm driving? I'd love a little bit of feedback. Of course, if you want to, hang on, let me pay attention as I'm parking this, $100,000 car next to another $100,000 Model X and one of our 2 Model Ys. All right, anyways, what did you think of this video? Did you like it versus some of the other ones? And did you like the discussion? Of course, if you want to take a look at any of the cars that we have on our lot, or this one in particular, you can check it out. I put a link to our inventory in the description below. We are Tesla experts here. The team here, most of us came from Tesla, and we don't sell anything other than electric vehicles. So we're all about trying to help you get into an electric vehicle that is going to fit your lifestyle best. So thanks for watching the video, and stay tuned for more electric vehicle content from Current Automotive. Thanks.